In the last video, we set up our motion path so that it followed a nice even up and down like a ball, and starting to look more and more like a ball, but it still has a very even like motion, as if there's no gravity in this world whatsoever. So what we want to do now is start to add the easing that we did in the earlier easing exercise, or hopefully you did in the early easing exercise. And to do that, we're going to actually have to do a little bit more customization with that easing. So I am going to begin by putting in one of the basic eases. I'm going to put in an ease out, and that's going to change my last keyframe and allow me to get into the graph editor. So I'm going into the graph editor, and when you first take a look at the bounce motion graph editor, the easing is very rigid, which implies that these shapes are moving at a very constant pace, although some quicker than others. And we want to smooth that out so that we create the illusion of it going slower as it falls, picking up speed, and then as it takes off, slowing up at the top, and then picking up speed, slowing, picking up speed. So let's start to mess with our velocity or speed editor. So you'll see that these yellow squares represent the keyframes. Right there I'm at the keyframe at the bottom of that circle. But you'll also notice is that there's actually two keyframes in the velocity, and that's because an ease can't go fast, slow, fast without having something in between. So it goes from point A to B, from B to C, C to D, etc. So I'm at point B. Let's go back to keyframe A, if you will, and let's see what happens if I drag this keyframe upwards. You should see the little dots. Try not to watch my hand moving. Try looking at the dots. They're moving downward. And what that means is that there's less time for the ball to travel between this greater space, and then there's less space, which essentially means that it's going faster here and slower here, and that's the exact opposite of what we want to have happen. So let's drag it in the other direction. Let's drag it downward, and now we should see, if you keep an eye on those dots, they're starting to reshift. Well, now they look quite even, but let's see if we lift this one up. We should start to see the dots look much closer up here, which is more what we want to see. So I'll see if it'll play quickly enough. Yeah, so that first drop is starting to have the essence of what we want. So I'm going to bring this up to that essentially the same point, maybe a little lower. And then what we want to have, so you can see here, further apart, closer together. Now we haven't gone from point, let's see, A, B, C, let's say from C to D, they're still quite even. So let's see if we can't change that. I'll drag this down, and let's see if we can get a better curve on this one here using our Bezier points. Oh, looks like we're going to have a peak, but that's okay. Let's move to this next spot here, because we've adjusted for that arc, but now we need to adjust for the arc to go from the top to the bottom. So we want it to go slower, and as you can start to see, down here is going to be slower, up here is going to be faster, so we're probably in good shape. Let's pull the second one down, and again I can see those little dots shifting, and let's modify the next two keyframes so that we can start to see those dots collecting again. Now you would think we wouldn't want to go higher, but it's almost the opposite of the logic of our other motion path. We do actually want it to go higher. Now one thing that isn't good, I haven't been very careful about maintaining our keyframe. So let me put the playback head there so that at least I have a visual reference of what keyframe, where the keyframe is, so that I'm not dragging it accidentally back and forth. Let's do that again. Pull these up, and I'll try and do this fairly quickly. In fact, I've already done this, so in terms of demonstration purposes, we've gotten as far as this point, and you can see, let's do one more, that we're starting to see the closer together dots at the top of each arc, which is exactly what we want. And to do that, the pattern that we're making with this is almost like a mirror image of the path that makes the motion. I don't know why that is, but it appears to be the case. So let's go to the one that I've already sort of put together. And yes, it's a scallop that goes in the opposite direction of the bouncing ball. So here is sort of what it's looking like. And it's starting to look a little bit more natural. So go ahead and get to that point. And the last thing we'll do to this particular exercise is add our squash and stretch. And then I'm going to give you an option for an advanced topic, which would be to have this be an image that you bring in from either Photoshop or Illustrator. I'm going to recommend Illustrator. Okay, see you in the next video.